Welcome back to the Laughlin Desert Challenge here in Laughlin, Nevada. Round number 1 getting set to go. Remember, there are 2 rounds this weekend, and here's a look at the starting grid.
First off is going to be Ed Herbst in the terrible Herbst Oil Ford. Now, I'll tell you, he's got a great spot. Ralph, if a guy can get out and stay in front on this one, it's going to be tough to pass.
Recently, we reached an agreement with Time.
Being first out there means that you've got dust kicking off the backside of you that they're going to scoot as far and fast as they can.
So the Herbst truck off and away as we get the first truck out onto the course. Starting second will be Scott McKinney out of Riverside, California. He's in a Dodge 2500.
This is the second trophy truck race that Scott's driven in this fine piece of machinery, and I'll tell you, he's going to be fast. He's worked his way up through the lower ranks in racing and finally graduated a trophy truck. I think you're going to see him on the gas for a good part of the day. He's got high hopes, and he's got a great crew. We'll watch.
Starting third, Larry Ragland, one of the legends of off-road racing out of Phoenix, Arizona, in his big V8 Chevy.
This Chevy is very, very quick in the tight and technical stuff. I'd give Ragland an edge on the rest of the trucks here if he can get through the dust and if he can get through the passes. He
goes for the lower side of the big starting jump here for the fans, giving them some high-flying action. Rob McCachran, who made his early living parking cars in Las Vegas, Nevada, where he's from, will start fourth in his Ford.
Well, I don't think we're going to see Rob wanting to park anything today. In fact, I think he's going to keep his foot right in it. He's going to go to the front of the pack if he possibly can. But remember, Ralph, that dust is so hard to get through, especially that first 12 miles, because there's just very little room to pass and cliffs on either side of you.
Starting fifth, Paul Simon out of Fallbrook, California, in another Ford F-150. This one sits a little bit higher than does Rob's.
Well, it really does, but I got to watch, you know, this truck just flat gets it. The Simons are never out of the hunt. They pressure, they pressure, they pressure, and they come up first every now and then.
They'll take the high side of the big jump. The fans of the Blue Oval with 2 of them out, and here comes a third one. And this truck really wild. The driver just as crazy. Starting sixth, Robbie Gordon.
Well, crazy like a fox. You know, the good news is starting sixth, we get to watch him go through the field. But for the drivers ahead, that's incredible pressure. I think the only thing worse than having Robbie ahead of you for a driver is maybe the pressure of having him behind you.
Now look at this. You know Robbie's going to fly that big Ford over the big side of the jump. Sure looks like it's going to jar your back, but it can be deceiving. Look at how from inside the cockpit it looks like it was no big deal, just a speed bump on a highway. Starting behind Robbie, trying to catch up through his dust, will be Kurt LeDuc in the first of the Jeep Grand Cherokees.
Well, now this is not the average trophy truck. In fact, what Kurt has done is taken a risk. He's putting his short track race car on the desert. His strategy is he can make it live for the 100 miles and go quicker. It's lighter, it's 4-wheel drive, it's high horsepower. Kurt's going to be a factor.
Jeff Lewis will start 8th. He comes out of Irvine, California, and he's got a Chevy K1500.
This Chevy is a ball of brand new technology. This is a 4-wheel drive, and they're just using the racing right now to try and work out the bugs that can't be worked out in testing. There's something special about a green and a checkered flag. He's going to go hard, but they know they're on a development program.
They ever get it figured out, this Chevy can be a force in the near future. Rogerio Ampudia starting 9th today out of Ensenada, Baja California, Mexico, the Papas and Beer truck.
Well, this Papas and Beer truck is designed and built by Roger Mears, and that's where they got the truck. What you're going to see is him going out there kind of getting his first rung on the experience ladder, so he's going to use a lot of brains, a lot of reserve. He may not be hard at it wheel to wheel, but he's learning very fast.
Party is in their pit afterward. All the cerveza, the Papas and Beer Tecate back pits. And behind Rogerio comes Marty Coyne out of Lemon Grove, California. He's got a Ford with him as well.
Oh, Marty in this Ultra Wheels Ford used to be the Robbie Gordon Ford, and I'll tell you, it's still got speed, it's still got horsepower, it's still got a lot of weight. In fact, its name amongst the teams is Roseanne because it's big, it's fat, and it's got a bad attitude.
Hope you're not planning on attending her show anytime soon, Bob. But you can see it cleans the jumps just fine.
This truck knows how to get around the desert. Fun watching it, too. Marty drives really hard.
So we're off and racing. Robbie Gordon, 6th out on the course, crosses over the highway.
Completely over the highway. In fact, most guys would just use the pavement for traction. Robbie uses it as a landing strip.
Wide open through here, and you get a good idea from the onboard camera with Robbie that it's not quite as vicious as you might think from the outside.
And it's also a whole lot faster than any of us would ever want to do on this kind of a terrain. Wham! Pow!
Now, I have gone for a ride with Robbie in this truck, as I know you have as well, Bob, and the ride is amazing. What you think will absolutely swallow this truck up, Robbie just jumps on the throttle a little bit harder and flies right over it. It is a wild ride, but it doesn't jar your bones the way you think it might. A lot of that has to do with the specially designed suspension Robbie has on this piece.
It really is good. He likes to fly the truck, too.
Yahoo! Gotta love that part of the course right there.
Ooh, woof. I love it.
And now Ed Herbst, who is first out on the course, out clean. A lot of fresh air, and as you mentioned earlier, that is a really big key advantage to be first out.
No question about it. In this section of the race course, this is the first 12 miles of that lap, and it's a very tight, rutted out race course. There's very little room to pass. The turns are switchbacks, and as he gets up higher in elevation, the mistakes involve cliffs.
And that can be costly. Stay tuned. Laughlin Desert Challenge coming right back. Side of Laughlin, Nevada, and the Nevada Desert. That is Ed Herbst, who is making his way up through one of the tight, twisting sections through the canyon here. Now, as you watch Ed going around, Bob, there is one big name not in the field here today.
And that name is Ivan the Iron Man Stewart. The Toyota team has decided to pass on this race in favor of spending their time and resource on developing a V8 program for that fast SR5 that he's got. So he's not going to be running this race, but he will be running the Baja 1000, and I'm certain the next year we'll see some excellent things out of that V8 Toyota.
Scott McKinney now making his way up through, and in this big truck, you got to take your time.
Well, you do have to take your time, but Scott was talking to us before the race and said that he did that at the last race and ended up getting nothing, so now he's going to keep his leg in it and go hard at it. We'll see how that turns out for Scott.
You can see how tricky that dust can be as Larry Ragland tries to fight his way through it. Keep an eye on where the road goes.
See, Ralph, there's no wind. See how that dust just hangs? That drives a driver out of his gourd because you can't see through it, but you've got to accelerate through it. It's a tough decision sometimes about how hard to go because there's big rocks out there and things that can tear a corner off a race truck.
If you think it's difficult trying to see the truck through all that haze, imagine what it's like trying to see the road in front of you at 100 miles an hour.
It's always amazed me. You can see the road a little bit ahead of you, but what you can really see well is the cliff next to you. I don't know why that is. The dust doesn't seem to fill the holes where the cliffs are.
Unfortunately, sometimes the best view of the cliff comes when you go over it. Rob McCachran, fourth out on the course. Now this fourth sits really low to the ground, and you can see it's really working as he gets good bite out of the turn.
Bite is what this truck does. Well, it's a completely new design for trophy trucks. Sits very low, single seat, and it's also got a tremendous amount of redundancy in its systems, i.e. 2 alternators, 2 ignitions, 2 of everything almost, so that the driver being alone with no co-driver help can actually do more to help himself if there's a mechanical problem, compensating for the fact that there's only one guy in the truck.
Now here's more of a common design for a trophy truck, a Ford especially. This is the Simon & Simon truck.
Well, now they've got 2 people in there. One of them's Paul Simon doing the driving, and the secret weapon on the Simon team is the co-driver. I'll say that because I like co-drivers naturally, is Don Tebby. He keeps the thing wrenched, he keeps it designed, he keeps it tuned, and he keeps his side of the truck going just as fast as Paul's side.
And there really is a lot to do on both sides of the truck, and Robbie Gordon has a tremendous co-driver with him as well.
This co-driver today has his hands full. Robbie not having a chance to pre-run the race course, now Greg Till has to be able to tell Robbie, up here there's a left, up here's a hole, something, be careful, go ahead, gas it, go through it. Give him instructions. He's a coach today as well as a co-driver.
One thing Greg will be pointing out is the cliff off to the left. Now you've co-driven with Robbie a bunch, in fact having won a lot of races. What's the toughest part about being a co-driver for Robbie?
Well, I think probably it has to be, you know, keeping him happy and servicing his needs, but the other part of it is listening to those 2 gosh awful words you never want to hear out of Robbie. He says, watch out, hold on. That's scary.
A little bit safer from your living room chair. Whoa, Kurt Leduc really flying the front end of that Jeep. A machine that has a tendency to do that?
No, not necessarily. I think sometimes, in fact, I'll tell you the fact is, the more spectacular the photo is in off-road, the bigger mistake that was that caused it. That was just a little glitch.
Well, he handles the elevator shaft without much of a problem, and then gets it into the lowlands here where you can use all that horsepower.
Well, he's got plenty of horsepower, but I want to remind you, Ralph, this is a 4-wheel drive short track car with a lot of time on it, so it's a known quantity to Kurt, but the risk he's taking is taking it to the desert where it may be a bit fragile.
Now there is one other 4-wheel drive machine here, Team McPherson Chevy of Jeff Lewis.
and they're on a developmental process. There's something amazing that happens between the green and the checkered flag that just cannot be duplicated in testing, and that's what their real mission here is today.
You can see how he just kind of nudges over that elevator drop. Well, Rogerio Ampudia is getting acclimated to the world of trophy truck racing, and as you can see, he is slowly getting acclimated to it right now. Think maybe he has a problem?
Yeah, it could be, certainly, because this is early in the race, but more probably what's going on is he knows there's a truck bearing down on his behind, and he's saying, hey, you know, I have a different mission here today, so I'm going to pull over and let this guy go by, and then I'll get back to my race.
Remember, Rogerio is just beginning his trophy truck career, so he's out here R&D'ing the driver, not the machine. And Marty Coyne coming through, picking up a position.
Roseanne goes through the bumps pretty good, doesn't it? Look at that front end work. Those I-beams squishing out, landing, squishing, landing, squishing. Marty doesn't hold back on this truck. He loves driving it, and he's pretty effective at it, too. Good driver. Got a lot of experience in stadium cars, meaning that you can be out of shape, way out of shape, and still save it. And that's what Marty knows how to do.
And Roseanne floats over the elevator shaft. Sad news to report here today. Javier Espinoza, who was a longtime competitor in the SCORE series, tragically passed away in an airplane crash just recently in his native land of Mexico. All of us in the SCORE family send our regards and our best wishes to his family. That's that big Dodge. He's running second out on the course.
He's flying down this hill, too. This is the last 2 or 3 miles into the speedrome where they do their turnaround and head back out again. And you can tell that Scott's really
Whoa, something came off the truck there, Bob.
Oh, it's a tire. It's more than a tire. Look at that thing go. That thing is traveling fast. Man, people need to get out of the way.
That's a spectator area right there. And look at Larry Ragland coming through.
Oh, that was a close call for Ragland. I tell you, I think he got his eyes full there for a minute, don't you?
I'm sure Scott McKinney did as well.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at what happens to this big Dodge. He is really flying through here.
Ralph, take a good look at the right corner. Watch the right corner of the car. See, all of a sudden the tire comes off. It bounces up through the dust. Now he's running on just pure metal on the right front corner of the car. What a handling situation. Oh, look at it. It's pitching it sideways. He could roll here, but Scott saves it. He saves it. Look at the throttle he's got in there to hang on to that thing.
Absolutely amazing that he doesn't flip the truck over with all that weight leaning over onto that left or right front corner.
Well, he may be a rookie driver to trophy truck, but what he just did is a veteran driver move. That took savvy and experience and a little huevos to boot.
And there's Larry Ragland, who was able to dodge the bullet as he came through all that dust and debris, came through unscathed. So the big Chevy continues on, and behind him, closing in, is Rob McCackern, and Rob really has made up a lot of ground.
Well, now these two guys have just moved up a notch because McKinney's fallen out. And that means that McCackern is trying to rope in Ragland, and they're going to go hard at it. This is going to be a tight situation in the next 12 or 15 miles.
So Rob goes through the spectator area, and we'll get set to make another lap. And here comes the Simon truck. They were 4th out on the course. They started 5th. So they're moving up as well.
Well, not only moving up, but boy, I tell you, these guys are all real tight together still. This trophy truck racing is so close and so tight that it's like you could throw a blanket over them. They're going to be out there together at some point. The way they're closing on one another, they're going to end up coming together.
And not far behind the Simon truck is going to be that other big Ford, Bobby Gordon. There he is.
Now, Ralph, can you imagine being in any one of these trucks in this pack of people, knowing that you can't let off, you can't go too hard, and you can see your competition? In desert racing, sometimes that's a rarity, but these guys have each other in their gun sights.
There's a good look from inside of Robbie's truck. Remember, there's no windshield in that truck, so all that dust you see is going right into the cockpit. I think the other thing that's really interesting about this is that not only do we have different brands, but different styles inside the brands. We've got Ragland and a Chevy, but all 3 of the Fords that we see running up front are all radically different.
They really are, as well as the driver's driving styles. Now, Robbie is what I call a rally-style driver. He loves to pitch sideways and throttle through. The Simons, on the other hand, carry a lot of speed and try and drive through. Ragland is a quick, darty car. That's the Chevrolet.
Now here he is on board with Robbie, and just up through all that dust, you can see the back end of the Simon truck. Let's give you an idea of the differential. Here comes the Simon machine. And there's Robbie. You can see him coming through the haze. Look at that. Good close racing in these big trophy trucks. And Kurt LeDuc now makes his way into the spectator area.
Well, now he's pitting. Now, let me tell you something, Ralph. The reason he's going to pit is because this is his short track car, and their fuel tank isn't as large as the desert car, so, frankly, he's got to pit.
You know, we've been hyping on the technology that has come into the trophy truck class recently, and it really has gotten bigger and better over the years, and you got to wonder if technology is outdoing the driver now.
I think that the skill level goes up, but you also have the technology advantage, too. The trucks go through bumps and corner and brake and do so many things so much better than they used to, even just 2 years ago, that in the cab, things aren't quite as dramatic as they used to be, maybe, but it's also, the speed the vehicle's going is very important also. Now we're going 20, 30 miles an hour faster than we used to, and, you know, when things come apart, you definitely have your hands full. You got to be ready.
We saw that earlier with Scott McKinney as he had to try to catch on to his big Dodge, but Jeff Lewis has had a pretty good weekend here already, winning the Laughlin Leap. Look at how he flew that big machine to victory, claiming the $15,000 that went up for grabs with the long jump competition that was held earlier in the weekend. According to SCORE Trophy Trucks in action in Laughlin, Nevada, you can see Rob McCachran is our leader, and he's lost some body panels. Earlier, he sized up the course and the competition.
The track is so tight here, it's going to be really hard to pass. And hopefully the wind stays picked up so we don't have to look right into their dust. Larry's going to be pretty fast, and I think the guys in front are probably going to be a little bit timid through the mountain roads and everything, and I think we're all going to get grouped up. So actually, at this point, I think the guys in the back kind of got a little bit of an advantage at the beginning because they're going to get to close up on us.
But now remember, you see that Rob is the leader. He is not the first one on the course, however, because it is due to time.
That's absolutely right. Each of these race trucks is racing against its very own clock. At the end, the one with the shortest clock wins.
Now, Robbie Gordon is going to be racing this truck here today, but not tomorrow. Robbie's going to board a plane and head back to Charlotte, where he'll climb back behind the wheel of a Winston Cup car.
Well, we're going to put Dan Smith in it. You know, we talked to the 4 people, and we felt he was the best guy for the job. He came out and did a hell of a job for the guys testing. Everybody's really excited to have him working with us, and I just wish him all the luck. Hopefully we can put it up front for him to start tomorrow.
Robbie Gordon doing a good job of getting that big Ford up front. Should make Dan Smith's job a lot easier tomorrow. Also puts a lot of pressure on Dan, because if Robbie does put the truck up front, Dan's got a lot of pressure to keep it there.
Well, anybody that tries to fill the shoes of Robbie Gordon is under a tremendous amount of pressure. But I think Dan Smith is an excellent choice. He understands how to be a team driver.
You can see Robbie out running our helicopter at this point, and you can see he's got a truck in front of him that he's closing in on. Now, here is the Simon & Simon truck, and this truck, another one of the more highly technological pieces in the field. We talked to them about it.
You drive one of these with your heart. You just don't steer it around the track. You got to become part of it. And it happens, and I don't know how it happens, but this truck scares me thinking about it all the time. And it scares me to watch it test. But when I'm in there and I'm going across that desert at some ungodly speed, something happens, and you just become part of it. And it's like you trust it, and it kind of trusts you, and you can do things that you shouldn't be able to do. And there's other drivers that I think if you put them in there, they would never even come close to getting to that point. And sometimes I think it's because they're just smarter. A part of their brain works a little better, and who'd want to go that fast or take a chance like that?
Well, right now he is getting everything out of that truck he can, and he has to, because here comes Robbie.
Not very far off his back bumper. And they've got nearly a mile's worth of straightaway just ahead after this checkpoint stop. And I'll bet you're going to see some demonstration of horsepower, Ralph. There's just a possibility of that.
You can see how Robbie is in full race mode at that point because he took the lower jump, not the big one. Less hair time means quicker ground time.
You can't accelerate in midair, Ralph. It just doesn't happen. So you keep it on the ground, you can plant your foot in the throttle. Look at the Simons throttle themselves out of that turn. Now, we have a radar gun up high on this straightaway, and the speeds that we're going to click off for Robbie and Simon are 121 miles an hour for Simon, 122 miles an hour for Robbie. So Robbie is roping them in bit by bit.
That is not max speed for these trucks. There is a little bit more in them.
That's true. Now, what doesn't really show on our show here is this is a very uphill grade, and we're at altitude by the time we do it. Oh, Robbie, my goodness, you're fast.
That's a 130-mile-an-hour full-speed tilt slide through the turn with Greg Till looking out the passenger side window straight up the freeway. And look at that. He clears 4 lanes of paved road all in one jump. What a ride Robbie Gordon can give you.
I think it's safe to say Robbie's on a mission, wouldn't you?
Oh boy, and you know, that's another part of that truck that's amazing, the braking abilities that big Ford has.
That's true. Most people don't realize that this tire, this track, this dirt doesn't mean the thing slides when you stick on the brakes. It bites hard and stops fast.
This is a truck that Robbie dreamed up in his own little nightmare world. He kind of sat down, came together with pen and paper, and built this truck.
Understand that he built it out of his experiences. Robbie is not an engineer, doesn't have an engineering degree, but he does understand desert racing.
And he's second for now. Park a lounger, because we got one heck of a battle out on the course here in the Laughlin Desert. The Simon brothers are in front of Robbie Gordon. Robbie is all over the backside of Paul Simon.
I think he wants to go around, Ralph. I think that's his plan.
And look at how much dust Robbie is eating right now sitting behind the Simons. And our poor camera isn't doing a whole lot of good either.
Oh, he bumps him. Do you see? Well, he just bumped Simon. So that tells Paul up the head, Robbie is there and he wants around. I bet you Paul's going to make him take it.
There he goes around to the outside. Yep. And he's going to try to get around him, and does. So now Robbie will have a little bit of clear sailing. He can kick sand back into the face of the Simon brothers.
Well, now he's on to try and track down that McCachran guy.
You can see Rob has lost some of the body panels on the right side of the truck. And now into the pit area. Now this is Robbie Gordon's pit. Now the difference in off-road racing is pit road can be a couple of miles long.
Yes.
So the Simon brothers are about 1.25 miles back down the road.
Coming out of their pit from getting fuel and tires, the Simons are going up this long straightaway. Ralph, it's going to be a real drag race. Both of these teams can pit their cars very, very quickly. It's got to see how it comes out.
And you know Robbie's crew can hear that other Ford as it makes its way up through the gearbox. It looks like they're just about done with the tires.
On the gas.
Robbie is on his way.
Go, 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 go. He's going to make it. He's going to make it. Oh, man.
Boy, look at that. Gosh, that is tight.
I'll tell you, being 120 miles an hour and having to pitch it sideways offline takes a racing driver, and Paul did a fantastic job there. He's on the gas, fast.
And that's just a view Robbie was hoping to avoid back in the dust of the Simons. And that can wear you down as much as it can wear the truck down.
Well, it takes a lot of mental stamina to get through this kind of stuff because it takes such ultimate control, but he's...
Oh, and the Simons are upside down.
And this hard left, you know, they just had to carry way too much speed going in there. This is the pressure I was talking about, having Robbie on your backside being almost worse than Robbie on your front side. That could be what happened here. He just carried too much speed. He's dumped it in the dirt. Everybody's okay.
Well, it looks like what they're trying to do is get some people stationed to slow the other trucks down. It's not like a closed road course, so there's no yellow flags. That truck is sitting right in the middle of the corner.
And Robbie is on his way.
Rob McCachran might be having company real soon.
No doubt about it. I bet you McCachran can feel the pounding of Robbie coming behind him.
So Paul Simon with the truck still up on its side. It's going to take a handful of people to push it over. They get it over. And now the Simon brothers will climb back in and get going again.
They're going to see if it's going to work. They're going to get in there. If it does start, they're going to use that pedal on the right hard and go at it really hard.
So Rob McCachran is the leader right now, and we had a chance to talk to him about the two-day format.
I like it a lot. You know, it gives you a chance to regroup, you know, if you need to change the setup in your truck, whatever it may be, and make your truck run better on Sunday.
You know, Bob, we've talked a lot about how fast Robbie Gordon is this year, but Rob McCachran really is the only driver who's been able to keep up with him consistently.
That's reflected in the way the point situation is right now. Robbie has won 4 of the races so far this year and still doesn't have a lock on the championship. And the reason is McCachran has been there every single time, taking just second place points or first place points. He's doing very well. He's the only other driver to have won a race this year aside from that Robbie Gordon entry.
A very, very fast race truck, too. Now, the Simon brothers, there you see them going to work on that truck, trying to get back in competition one of the teams that's happy to have the two-day format.
Well, I guess I got an idea what they're going to do tonight. It isn't going to be bedtime early. They're going to have to go over that truck with a fine-tooth comb and make it really fast and really ready for tomorrow's event.
There's Robbie Gordon working his way through. We talk about the difference in the speeds between this truck and McCachran's.
Well, there's very little difference in the speeds at both ranges of what trophy trucks do. At the high speed, high velocities, they're pretty equal. But where trophy trucks make time is going less slow in the rough. And again, these two trucks are very equal. They're very capable. That's why they're so close in points.
Two radically different theories, but both trucks executing the concepts perfectly. Here, Rob McCachran working that throttle.
No lack of horsepower, Ralph.
Not at all. And he's able to get it all to the ground. As you see the city of Laughlin in the background, and the Simon brothers not going to get to enjoy the gambling at all tonight in the Laughlin area. They're going to have a lot of work to do on that truck. You can see how torn up it is after rolling it. So Rob McCachran will become the winner of round number 1 as he navigates his way through the spectator area. Pitches it sideways, and the BF Goodrich Ford Rough Rider machine will claim round number 1 here in Laughlin. Off the big jump one more time. And Rob will whoa her down now and come to a stop. They'll get things ready, polish it up, and bring it back out for the next round tomorrow. Now look at this. Robbie Gordon just 6 miles from the finish, and that ultra-quick, ultra-fast machine is real slow and dead in the water at this point. Even the Simons are going to pick up a little time as they'll come around and work their way around Robbie Gordon. A little sweet revenge for the Simons as they're able to retake second now that Robbie has problems. Remember, they rolled theirs early on. Let's go back down to victory lane and Bob Bauer with our winner, Rob McCachran.
Man, Rob, you did it.
I'll tell you what, this was a great day here in Laughlin. This Ford truck, BF Goodrich tires, I got to thank all them guys. All the guys at Venable Racing did a great job preparing this truck. We've been thinking about this race for a few weeks now, trying to figure out what it was going to take to win this thing, and our plan came together.
Well, the good news for the Simons is they will salvage second place out of this and be back in the hunt when the next green flag comes out for round number 2 from here in Laughlin. They'll work on that truck, get it prepared, and come back out. Maybe pick up a victory in the overall here now. They'll make their way to the checkered flag, and they'll make their way to Bob Bauer, who is waiting to talk to him.
You probably want to know what happened, huh?
Well, let me see. I think there was a great pass, a light car, and a skating back end.
Something like that. How about it? There was a school bus out there and a whole bunch of kids and blocking the track. I had to swerve to miss it.
Try another.
No, we got into it with Gordon coming out of the pits. We were able to get around him, and then we threw it into the corner up at the end of the straightaway. I don't know how fast we were going, but we were red-lined in the last gear, and that figures to be about 130 plus. So I just got tires. That might have been part of it. The back end hooked up, and we went tumbling. What I'm really surprised is that there are a whole bunch of spectators up there, and they threw the truck back over, fired right up, took off. In fact, I think we fixed some aerodynamic problems that we had, because my head wasn't buffing anymore after that.
No, it wasn't buffeting, just ringing, and the dust isn't what he was seeing. He was seeing stars. Just the results of round number 1. There you see him through the top 5. Back out in the top 10 says Scott McKinney. We'll be back with more right after this. Desert Challenge to SCORE Trophy Trucks getting set for round number 2. Ralph Shaheen and Bob Bauer with you as we are outside of Laughlin, Nevada. Here is the starting grid for round number 2. They will start exactly the way they finished round number 1. All 10 trucks back out and ready to go racing. Now, one of the drivers filling in will be Dan Smith. He will drive in place of Robbie Gordon, who ran round number 1, but had to quickly jump on a plane and head back to Charlotte. We talked to Dan about the challenge of filling in.
A little bit nervous about it, as a matter of fact, but I talked with Robbie last night, and he said, just go out and do your best, and if I told him I'd get him a finish, and if I feel like I can run the car, I'll run it. He said, we'll leave that decision to you. So it's a no-pressure deal. It's more or less go out there and get him a finish.
I think Dan Smith is playing it a little cautiously there when he says no pressure. I think there's a lot of pressure on Dan Smith to get a good finish. Rob McCachran will be the first one out.
What an enviable position for Rob to do this, to be able to be first on the road on day 2 with a clean run the day before, and all night to have tweaked on the truck. I bet you everybody wishes they were Rob McCackman right now.
So the Simon and Simon team set to go. Remember, they rolled it in round number 1. They had a long night building that truck together.
Well, they did more than just repair the truck. They did, in fact, repair it. But what they did is they changed some of the shock valving to get better handling. They lowered the truck for the technical stuff, and they're hoping to get a clearer shot at that win flag today.
Now, if they could just keep it on all 4 wheels, they might stand a chance of winning this thing. Larry Racklin, the fastest of the non-Fords in round number 1, is set to go. This big Chevy Thunder machine.
This Chevy Thunder machine has a real advantage in this type of a race course because it's so tight, so technical. The Chevy squirts off of turns with high horsepower. It's all very mid-engines oriented for handling, for twisting. This car will do very, very well on this course today. He's hoping to win the thing.
And he'll start missing the body panel on the left side of the bed of the truck. And Raglan gets into the meat of the big V8. The bow tie is on its way. Larry, a real cagey veteran out of the desert, too. He could be a player in this one before it's all said and done. Now, here's Robbie Gordon's truck with Dan Smith behind the wheel.
Now, he's supposed to keep a conservative, you know, a demeanor, I guess you'd have to call it, and that's been the orders. But Dan Smith is a racer, too. I think we can watch and see Dan do some great driving. He will play according to the rules that he's been set out for, but frankly, he's going to have his leg in it every chance he gets.
And we're going to get a good look at what Dan does today as we'll have an onboard camera with him. Same co-driver as Robbie had yesterday.
Well, now this will really pay off well for him because now Greg is going to coach the driver on what the truck will accomplish.
You can see the pre-race ritual that the drivers go through getting themselves ready to go. That was Kurt Leduc as he checks the belts, makes sure he's belted in the way he wants to be. And we'll also have an onboard camera with Kurt in today's event as well.
Ralph, the reason Kurt does that is actually if you do a little stretching exercises, you actually get relaxed. It's not to hype yourself up, it's to relieve tension. Not unlike a football player who bangs his helmet just before the kickoff. Same deal.
Or just like you when you get set to do a broadcast, Bob. I saw you banging your head against the table just a little while ago. So Kurt Leduc about to test the durability of his Jeep. Rob McCackran, who won round number 1, leads it again here in round number 2 and leads the overall.
It's true. I think what you're going to see is Rob here is going to stick his leg in the throttle to try and stretch as much distance between him and whoever's next in line as he possibly can and hold that gap for 4 laps.
Through some of the tight, twisty sections. See how smooth that truck is. Oh, Rogerio Ampudia has big problems in the Papas and Beer machine.
Ralph, here's what happened is Ampudia was running through this section of things we call whoop-de-doos. It's a rhythm section, like skiing down moguls. He got out of rhythm. The back end of the truck came up and over the front end of the truck. He endoed and fortunately landed on his wheels. Now, the early reports from the medical people is that they suspect some neck injuries. So what you're going to see is them taking great care to be very careful, slow, and making sure they get him out of the truck safely. The good news is he landed on the tires.
You saw Kurt Leduc making his way through the crash site, and now you see the Simon machine out in the desert, but it looks like it's a little tail happy on him right now.
Oh, I think that's just Paul's exuberance. Look how he lands on that side. Can you imagine the side forces that those left side and right side tires have to take when he lands that way? I mean, he was actually flying sideways and landed.
We saw Rob McCackran go through that very same section at a much more casual pace than we saw with Simons and Larry Ragland. Look at how they're both really flying the trucks through this rough section.
Now we're on board with Kurt, and this, remember, is a short track car. It's a 4-wheel drive. It's got high horsepower and lightweight, and he's coming up against, he's coming up on the Robbie Gordon car with Dan Smith driving, bumps him, wants around.
And Smith will move over quickly and let him by, and that's a sign that Dan Smith is driving with his head here today because he knows Robbie Gordon wants the championship. So don't jeopardize anything, get out of the way and score the points. Here is the standings as we make our way after lap number 1. Ragland leads them. The SCORE trophy trucks, we saw Dan Smith pull over to the side and let Kurt Leduc by. We thought maybe he was just playing conservative, but apparently he's got a problem. They are in the pits and they are ripping that truck apart. While that is going on, Rob McCachran continues to lead overall. Larry Ragland is the leader of round number 2. So McCachran continuing along as he makes his way through this area where the spectators have all gathered. No problems for him. If Rob can keep running at a solid pace, he'll win the overall here today, but the Simons are going to make a pit stop.
This looks like a standard pit, though. Rear tires, a little bit of gas. They are taking a look under the hood, though. There may be something going a little south. What pressure, though?
Well,
oh, and Ragland gets, oh, they don't like seeing that. Nothing enrages a driver more than seeing his truck get past while he's in the pits. I think that the Simons are again in for a fast afternoon now.
The big bow tie using all 8 cylinders to muscle its way through the spectator area here. And the Chevy will continue on as he is the current leader in round number 2.
This is a unique truck. The engine sits in the middle of the truck. Look behind the cab where you see that wing, and you'll see 2 exhaust pipes sticking out like old boat headers. I love watching this truck because every now and then you see a big belch of flame come out of one side or the other. Kind of like a big Viking helmet on fire. It goes fast.
No flames, but a lot of horsepower coming out of the Simon truck right now.
Well, flames is a touchy subject with the Simons because in 3 of the races this year, they've found a way to set that truck on fire. Going on to finish each time, but you don't say flames to Simons.
You don't say roll over either. And Rob McCachran in the pits. Now this is going to hurt him as far as Larry Ragland is concerned, because here comes the big Chevy.
Right by McCachran's pit. So now we have Ragland ahead of everybody on the clock and ahead of everybody on the road for the second heat. So he's going to have to stretch his lead as much as he can to try and make up the deficit of time from yesterday's round. But he's got McCachran right behind him. And you know McCachran has that right pedal. Well, Ralph, it's right there on the floor.
And you know, don't forget that Rob McCachran, even though he is second to Ragland in this race and second on the course, he is still the overall leader for the entire event. Ragland is the leader of round number 2.
McCachran knows it, so McCachran's job now is to keep as close as he can to Ragland, preventing Ragland from getting the time advantage that he's really hustling after.
And hustling is a good word for it. There's McCachran bouncing his way through the desert.
The section McCachran's going through right now is that same rhythm section where Ampudia lost it. He got out of rhythm, and if you get out of rhythm in this section, you could end your entire race.
That's the one thing that Rob cannot afford to do. He still has the lead in the overall section. You can see how he just kind of coasted over that big elevator shaft as opposed to flying it through there the way we saw Ragland go.
He's going to be striking that balance between pressing forward hard and conserving the race truck.
Now, Marty Coyne, there's old Roseanne. She's still plugging along.
Well, I'll tell you, this Ultra Wheel Sport has a lot of potential, and it continues to run real hard and fast. I think it's a great truck.
This is, again, that rhythm section, and rhythm, Bob, means working the throttle with where you are on the course.
Yes, exactly. You move the weight forward and backwards and trying to hit these little humps so you jump them. But now, oh, there's a great example of hitting it a little bit late. It popped the front end up in the air. With Ampudia, it was the back end and popped his back end in the air and sent him over tea kettle.
So Marty Coyne and Roseanne trying to find the rhythm together as they work their way through this, what seems to be simple, but reality is very tricky section of the Laughlin area. Now here's the big elevator shaft.
Marty's not afraid of that. He takes it just fine. That truck is a fast, tough truck.
One guy who hasn't had too many problems today is Larry Ragland. The big bow tie Chevy, currently the leader in round number 2. But you know what, Bob? I don't think he's going to have enough time to catch McCachran in the overall.
Nonetheless, there's absolutely no back off in Larry Ragland's driving style. He's going to race that thing hard all the way to that checkered flag.
And unfortunately, the checkered flag is just around the next couple of bends, which means that Ragland is probably not going to make up enough time to overtake Rob McCachran. Here he comes into the finish line area.
Oh, you can tell, boy, I'll see how he's pitching it. He's still on it. I mean, he's really chomping for the finish line.
Giving it everything he has, and this truck has done a great job of hanging in there for him on a very tough course. Larry Ragland will make his way to the finish line.
You know, you have to give Larry a lot of credit. He's had a horrible season up till now with things taking him out of races and off the lead, booby traps and things like that. But the win of this heat today shows that there's a lot of win in the Nelson team, and Larry Ragland is the driver. It's a good thing for him today. Too bad it's not going to make a big difference in the season standings.
In a year that has been dominated by the blue oval, the Fords have won everything. Ragland will steal a little bit of the thunder out from underneath them, as he will win round number 2 here at the Laughlin Desert Challenge. Larry Ragland and the Nelson & Nelson Chevy Thunder team, the big winners here today. But still out on the course, making his way into the finish line area, is Rob McCachran, the winner of round number 1, which was contested yesterday. Put that together with a fine second-place effort here today. Cumulative time will make Rob McCachran the winner, the overall winner of the Laughlin Desert Challenge.
Also, this means that the only 2 drivers to win all year in trophy truck racing is 4 wins for Robbie Gordon, 2 wins now for Rob McCachran. That's going to set up an amazing situation for points and the championship at the upcoming Baja 1000.
And what a great story for Ford, too. We'll be back with more right after this. Out on the course, Rob McCachran brings his Ford Rough Riders BFG shod machine into the victory area. Final couple of turns, and Rob McCachran will claim victory in the overall portion here. Also the winner of round number 1 in the Laughlin Desert Challenge. Takes the tail out one more time. Rob McCachran takes the final jump, takes the big side in celebratory fashion. He'll slow her down. This radically designed Ford pick up a win here today. So Rob McCachran, his second win of the season, and Larry Ragland's with our Bob Bauer.
Okay, well, Larry, you had to run really hard today to win this round.
Well, that day was a hard run. Now, we didn't have too much to lose because on the first round we were down on time, so all we could do is go out and try to win the second round, which is what we did. So we ran pretty hard, and we had 2 fast trucks right in front of us. So we waited, just we're right there behind them, and I guess they both did it. I got them both in the pits, I guess. I don't know when I got them.
Rob McCachran looked like a real quick day.
Yeah, I'll tell you. Yesterday had a really good pace going. We didn't have the lead there until about the 3rd lap. We got by Jeff Lewis. It was a lap truck, and then I ran as hard as I could on the 4th lap, tried to get as big a lead as I could for today. We had about 8 minutes and 51 seconds over the field, and today we got to start first. So we put that BF Goodrich Ford out front and just played it real conservative and played it safe and tried not to have any problems.
And he didn't have any problems. That's why he wins. Paul Simon did have his share of difficulties, but he persevered for a second-place finish, a fine effort, along with co-driver Don Tebby. They'll make their way to the final jump. They'll take the small side because I'm not sure that truck can handle any more after the weekend they've had. Here's a look at the final results. You see McCachran beats Paul Simon, but not by a whole lot. Ragland, a fine effort in 3rd, and Robbie Gordon credited with 4th. Well, that's it from the Laughlin Desert Challenge. For the Doctor of Dirt, Bob Bauer.